I'm lying in a hospital bed, watching the nurse check my for the third time today. The chair beside me has been empty for 2 weeks. I raised 3 children by myself. 3, and not one of them knows I'm dying. The oncologist's words still echo in my mind. Stage 4, 6 months, maybe less. That was 14 days ago. I sat in that sterile office, surrounded by diplomas and medical charts, and the first thought that crashed through my shock wasn't about death. It was about who I should call. And then I realized I had no one. Well, that's not entirely true. I have 3 children. Michael is 42 now, a successful attorney in Boston. Sarah just turned 40, running her own marketing firm in Seattle. And my baby, Daniel, 37, managing a tech startup in San Francisco. 3 brilliant, accomplished adults who once were 3 tiny beings that depended on me for everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this story really begins. I was 23 when I got pregnant with Michael. His father, Richard, seemed excited at first. We weren't married, but we talked about it. We made plans. I decorated a nursery in my small apartment, painting clouds on the ceiling because I wanted my baby to always reach for the sky. Richard left 2 months before Michael was born. Just left. No explanation, no forwarding address. One day he went to work, and he never came back. I remember standing in that nursery, 9 months pregnant, touching those clouds I'd painted, wondering how I was going to do this alone. My parents had passed away in a car accident when I was 19. I had no siblings, no safety net, just me, my waitressing job, and a baby on the way. Michael was born on a Tuesday morning in March, 7 pounds, 6 ounces of pure miracle. When the nurse placed him in my arms, I looked into those brand new eyes and made him a promise. I whispered it right there in that delivery room. I will give you everything. Every single thing I have. And I did. I worked double shifts at the diner, sometimes triple when they'd let me. Michael stayed with Mrs. Chen downstairs, a 70-year-old widow who charged me almost nothing because she said babies kept her young. I'd rush home between shifts to nurse him, my feet screaming in pain, my back aching, but none of that mattered when he smiled at me. Then, when Michael was 2, I met James. He was a customer at the diner, a regular who always sat in my section. He was kind, patient. He said he didn't mind that I had a son. He said he wanted a family. I believed him. God, how I wanted to believe him. We got married at the courthouse. Sarah was born 11 months later. I thought maybe this time it would be different. This time I'd have a partner, someone to share the load. James lasted 3 years. 3 years of broken promises, of coming home late, smelling like alcohol, of paychecks that never quite made it to our account. I found out about the gambling when the eviction notice came. He'd gambled away 6 months of rent. We had a toddler and a baby, and we were being thrown out of our apartment. I packed everything we owned into my 15-year-old car. I filed for divorce the next week. James didn't contest it. Didn't even show up to sign the papers. I heard later he'd moved to Nevada. I never heard from him again. So there I was, 27 years old, with 2 children under 5, sleeping in my car because I couldn't afford first and last month's rent anywhere. I bathed my babies in public restroom sinks. I fed them before I fed myself most nights. I didn't eat at all. Michael would ask me why I wasn't hungry, and I'd tell him Mommy already ate at work. He believed me because children trust their mothers to tell them the truth. I finally saved enough for a deposit on a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in the worst part of town. The walls were thin. The heat barely worked, but it was ours. I put both kids in 1 bedroom and took the couch. I told them it was an adventure, that we were camping inside. They thought it was fun. Then Daniel came along. I'd been seeing someone, Tom. Another mistake. Another man who said all the right things until life got real. When I told him I was pregnant, he actually laughed. He said, "That's your problem." And I never saw him again. 3 children, 3 different fathers. None of them stayed. People judged me. I could see it in their eyes at the grocery store, at parent-teacher conferences, at the free clinic. Single mother of 3. They'd look at my kids and then at me, and I could read their thoughts like a book. Irresponsible. Poor choices. Should have known better. But you know what? I didn't care, because when I looked at my 3 babies, I didn't see mistakes. I saw miracles. 3 perfect, beautiful reasons to keep going. I worked 3 jobs. Waitressing at the diner from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Cleaning offices from 3 to 7 in the evening. And overnight shifts stocking shelves at the supermarket from 11 until 5 in the morning. I'd come home, sleep for exactly 45 minutes, shower, and do it all over again. The kids barely saw me awake. I'd leave them breakfast with instructions, come home to make dinner half asleep, help with homework while my eyes burned from exhaustion, tuck them in, and head back out. Sometimes I'd doze off on the bus between jobs and wake up 3 stops past where I needed to be. I'd walk back, losing precious minutes of rest, fighting to keep my eyes open. Michael became my helper. At 8 years old, he was making sure Sarah and Daniel brushed their teeth. At 10, he was reading them bedtime stories. At 12, he was cooking basic meals. I'd cry sometimes, watching him shoulder responsibilities no child should have to carry. But what choice did I have? I was drowning, and my children were my only life preservers. I missed things. School plays, soccer games, birthdays sometimes. I tried, God knows I tried, but you can't be in 3 places at once. I remember Sarah's 9th birthday. I'd promised her a cake. I was working the overnight shift, and I planned to leave early to pick up the cake I'd ordered from the discount bakery. But the manager said if I left early, I was fired. I needed that job. We needed the money. So I stayed, and I missed my daughter's birthday. When I got home that morning, Sarah was sitting at the kitchen table. Michael and Daniel had made her a cake out of crackers and peanut butter with a candle stuck in the middle. She was crying, not because the cake was pathetic, but because I wasn't there to see her blow out the candle. I held her and sobbed, promising I'd make it up to her, promising things would get better. But they didn't get better. They just kept getting harder. I developed back problems from the physical labor, chronic pain that never went away. I couldn't afford a doctor, couldn't afford to take time off. So I swallowed over-the-counter painkillers like candy and kept going. My hands became rough and cracked from chemicals in hot water. My feet had calluses on top of calluses. I looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. I was 35 and looked 50. But I kept my promise to those 3 babies. I gave them everything. Michael wanted to go to college. He'd worked so hard, gotten a full scholarship to a state school, but it didn't cover everything. Books, fees, living expenses. There was still a gap. I took out loans I knew I'd never be able to pay back. I worked extra hours to send him money for food, for warm clothes, for everything he needed. He graduated top of his class, got into law school. More loans, more hours, more pain. Sarah was my dreamer. She wanted to study marketing, to be creative. She got into a good program, but again, scholarships only covered so much. I refinanced the tiny house I'd finally managed to be using every penny of equity to help her. She graduated, started her own business. I was so proud I could hardly breathe. Daniel, my baby, was brilliant with computers. He taught himself to code when he was 12. By 16, he was building websites for local businesses. He got into a prestigious tech program across the country. I sold my car, the same beat-up car I'd lived in with 2 babies all those years ago. To help pay for his first year, I took the bus in the snow, in the rain, arriving to work soaking wet because my jacket wasn't waterproof. It didn't matter. Daniel needed that education. They all succeeded. My 3 babies went out into the world and became exactly who they were meant to be. And I was so happy, so grateful that all the sacrifice had meant something. That they'd never have to struggle like I did. That they'd never have to choose between food and rent. Never have to sleep in their cars. Never have to miss their children's birthdays because survival came first. The calls started coming less frequently after they graduated. They were busy building their lives. I understood. Michael had cases to prepare. Sarah had clients to pitch to. Daniel had a startup to run. They had their own problems, their own stresses. I didn't want to burden them with mine. I kept working. The back pain got worse. Standing for long periods became agony. I cut back to 2 jobs, then 1. My income dropped, and suddenly I couldn't afford the house anymore. The bank foreclosed. I moved into a small apartment, 1 bedroom this time. Just me and the couch again, but this time there were no children to make it an adventure for. I called Michael to tell him I'd moved. He was in a meeting, said he'd call back. He didn't. I texted Sarah the new address. She replied with a thumbs up emoji. I left Daniel a voicemail. He sent a text 3 days later. Okay, Mom. The distance grew. Weeks between calls became months. I stopped reaching out as much because I felt like I was bothering them. They had their own families now. Michael had 2 kids. Sarah had 1. Daniel was engaged. They posted pictures on social media. Beautiful homes, vacations, celebrations. I'd stare at those photos for hours, zooming in on my grandchildren's faces, memorizing features I'd never seen in person. I was 61 when the pain got so bad I finally went to the doctor. By then, I was eligible for Medicare. Thank God, because I couldn't have afforded the visit otherwise. They ran tests, found a mass, ran more tests. The word cancer hung in the air like a death sentence. Stage 4 colon cancer. It had spread to my liver. The doctor said it was aggressive. Said I'd probably had it for years, but by the time symptoms showed up badly enough for me to seek help, it was too late for the treatments that might have saved me. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot and called. Michael, voicemail. I called Sarah, voicemail. I called Daniel, voicemail. I left messages, my voice shaking, saying I needed to talk to them about something important, medical stuff. Could they call me back? Michael called 3 days later. He was driving. I could hear the traffic. I started to tell him, but he interrupted. He had a huge case. Could I just text him the details and he'd look at them when he had time? I said okay. I texted, I have stage 4 cancer. 6 months to live. He responded, that's terrible, Mom. I'll call you this weekend. He didn't call that weekend. Sarah did text back. Eventually, oh no, are you okay? I'm slammed at work, but let's plan a visit soon. Soon never came. Daniel called from the airport, between flights. I could hear the announcements in the background. I told him I was dying. He said, that really sucks, Mom. Listen, I'm boarding. I'll figure out when I can come see you. Love you. The line went dead. I started chemotherapy alone. I'd drive myself to the appointments, sit in that chair with the poison dripping into my veins, and watch other patients with their families around them. Husbands holding wives' hands, children reading to parents. And me. Just me. A nurse asked once if my family knew I was sick. I lied and said they lived far away. It was easier than admitting the truth. The chemo made me violently ill. I'd spend days in bed, too weak to eat, too nauseous to drink water. I lost my hair, lost weight I didn't have to lose. My body was giving up, shutting down piece by piece. I called my kids during those dark days, but the calls went to voicemail more often than not. When they did answer, I could hear the impatience in their voices. The unspoken question, what do you need now? I stopped calling. 2 weeks ago, I collapsed in my apartment. A neighbor found me and called an ambulance. I woke up here, in this hospital, with doctors telling me that cancer had progressed faster than expected. Weeks now, not months. They asked who to call. I gave them my children's numbers. They called all 3. Left urgent messages. Michael's office called back. His secretary said he was in trial, couldn't be disturbed, but she'd pass along the message. Sarah's assistant called. Said Sarah was at a conference in Europe, would be back in a week, would call then. Daniel's phone went straight to voicemail. The hospital left 3 messages. No response. So here I am, dying in a hospital room, alone, while my 3 children, the 3 babies I sacrificed everything for, go about their busy, important lives. The nurse just asked if I wanted her to try calling them again. I said no. I'm tired of begging for scraps of attention from the people I gave my whole life to. I close my eyes and remember them as babies. Michael's tiny fingers wrapped around mine. Sarah's laugh when I'd tickle her belly. Daniel falling asleep on my chest, his breath soft against my neck. I remember thinking, in those moments, that love was enough, that giving everything would matter, that one day, they'd understand what I did for them. Maybe they never will. Maybe I failed them in some way I can't see. Maybe working all those hours, being absent even when I was present, left wounds I didn't know I was inflicting. Or maybe they're just living their lives, the way I raised them to do, and they simply don't realize how little time is left. The nurse comes back. She's kind, this one. She fluffs my pillow, adjusts my blanket. She asks if there's anyone she can call for me, a friend, a neighbor, anyone. I open my mouth to say no, but what comes out is a sob. Just one. But it breaks something open inside me, and suddenly I'm crying, really crying, for the first time since my diagnosis. They were my whole world, I tell her. This stranger with gentle hands and patient eyes. I had nothing, and I gave them everything. How did I end up with nothing again? She doesn't answer. What could she say? Instead, she pulls up a chair and sits with me, holding my hand while I cry. It's more than my own children have done in months. But something happens the next day. Something I couldn't have predicted. A different nurse comes in during the morning rounds. She's checking my vitals when her phone rings. She apologizes, says it's her son. She has to take it. I watch her face change as she listens. The color drains from her cheeks. She ends the call and looks at me, then looks away quickly, professional mask slipping. I'm sorry, she says. My grandson is in the ER. They think it's meningitis. I have to go. I tell her, go now. She runs out, and I'm left thinking about how quickly everything can change. How one phone call can turn your world upside down. I don't know what makes me do it, but I pick up my phone. I call Michael, voicemail of course. But this time, I don't leave a message about me. I say, Michael, honey, I know you're busy, but please, when you have time, call me. I need to tell you something important about family, about what really matters. Before it's too late. 3 hours later, my phone rings. It's Michael. Mom, what's wrong? Your message scared me. I almost laugh. Now he's scared. Now, when I stop talking about my death and start talking about something vague and mysterious, he responds. Michael, I say slowly, if something happened to one of your children, who would you call? Silence. What kind of question is that, Mom? Is this about the cancer? Look, I'm sorry I haven't been there, but you know how crazy work has been. Just answer the question. I interrupt, and something in my voice must surprise him because he stops talking. I'd call Linda first, he says, naming his wife. And then probably you, Mom. You'd know what to do. You always knew what to do when we were sick. Would you call me? I ask. Really? Because I've been dying for months, Michael, and you haven't managed to visit even once. The silence stretches so long, I think he's hung up. Mom. His voice cracks. God, Mom, I didn't. I thought you were exaggerating. You've always been so strong. I thought stage 4 just meant it was serious, not that you were actually. That it was really. I'm in the hospital right now, Michael. I've been here for 2 weeks. I'm not sure I'll leave. I hear something on his end, a choking sound. Then, I'm coming. Today, right now. I'm getting on a plane. You're in trial, I say tiredly. I don't give a damn about the trial. He hangs up. I stare at my phone, not quite believing it. 4 hours later, I get a text from Sarah. Michael called. I'm booking a flight. I'll be there tomorrow. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was this bad. 2 hours after that, Daniel calls. He's crying. My baby is crying. Mom, I'm in California, but I'm driving up. I'll be there by morning. Please, please hold on. I can't lose you without saying goodbye. And something breaks in me, but this time it's not a breaking apart. It's a breaking open. They come, all 3 of them, leaving their important jobs and busy lives, racing to get to me. Michael arrives first, bursting into my room still in his suit from court, his face pale and eyes wild. When he sees me, really sees me, he stops in his tracks. I know what he's seeing. I'm not the mother he remembers. I'm a skeleton with skin, bald, with tubes and wires connecting me to machines. I probably weigh 90 pounds. My cheeks are hollow. My eyes are sunken. "Oh my God," he whispers. "Mom, oh my God." He walks to my bed like he's moving through water, slow and disbelieving. When he reaches me, he falls to his knees beside the bed and grabs my hand. His tears fall on our joined hands. "I'm so sorry," he sobs. "I'm so sorry. I should have been here. I should have known." Sarah arrives while Michael is still on his knees. She takes one look at me and her bag drops from her shoulder. She's always been the most composed of my children, always in control, but not now. Now she's screaming, actually screaming, "No, no, no," like she can refuse reality into changing. She runs to the other side of my bed, grabbing my other hand. "Mom, Mama, I'm here now. I'm here. I'm not leaving. I'm never leaving again." Daniel arrives at 3 in the morning. He's driven straight through, and he looks half dead himself. When he sees his brother and sister camped out in my room, sees me in the bed, he just stops. His face crumples like paper. "I'm too late," he says. "I'm too late, aren't I? Come here, baby," I whisper, and he does. My youngest, my baby, climbs carefully onto the bed beside me and curls up like he did when he was small, his head on my shoulder, his arm across my waist, careful of all the tubes. We stay like that, the 4 of us, as the night passes into dawn. And slowly, in that hospital room, we start to talk. Really talk, maybe for the first time in years. Michael tells me about the pressure of his job, how he felt he had to succeed to prove my sacrifices weren't in vain. How he worked 80-hour weeks to make enough money to give his kids everything he didn't have, not realizing he was doing to them what my absence did to him. How his marriage was falling apart because he was never home. How his children barely knew him. "I became you," he says quietly. "I sacrificed my presence for their future, just like you did. And I thought that was what I was supposed to do. That's what love looked like to me. Working yourself to death for your kids." Sarah talks about the guilt she's carried, how she always felt she wasn't good enough, wasn't grateful enough, how starting her business was partly about proving she deserved everything I'd given up for her. How she's been in therapy for years trying to understand why she feels like she's never done enough, never been enough. "I thought if I was successful enough, if I made enough money, if I proved your sacrifices were worth it, then maybe I'd feel less guilty," she says. But the guilt just grew, and the busier I got, the easier it was to avoid facing it. Avoid facing you, because you reminded me of everything I couldn't pay back. Daniel, my baby, cries against my shoulder. He tells me about the pressure of being the youngest, of watching Michael and Sarah succeed, of feeling like he had to be even more impressive to justify my help. How his startup is failing, how he's drowning in debt, how he's been too ashamed to tell me because I sacrificed so much to help him and he felt like he was wasting it all. "I couldn't face you," he sobs. "I couldn't tell you I was failing after everything you gave up for me. So I just disappeared. I'm the worst son in the world." I listen to all of this, and my heart breaks and heals at the same time. They didn't abandon me because they didn't love me. They abandoned me because they loved me too much and didn't know how to carry the weight of that love. "Listen to me," I say, my voice weak but firm. "All 3 of you, listen. I never needed you to be successful to make my sacrifices worth it. I needed you to be happy. I needed you to be good people. I needed you to understand that love isn't about what you accomplish or what you provide. It's about being present, being there, that's all. Just being there. But we weren't there for you," Michael says bitterly. "You were dying, and we weren't there. You're here now," I tell him. "That's what matters." But even as I say it, I can feel my body failing. The cancer is winning. I have days, maybe hours. The doctors have said as much. My children can see it too. The machines are beeping more frequently. The nurses are coming in more often. There's a tension in the air, a waiting. That afternoon, something happens that changes everything. Again, Michael's phone rings. He looks at it, looks at me apologetically. It's Linda. I should take it, I tell him. He steps into the hallway. Through the door, I hear his voice rise in panic. He comes back in, his face white. It's Jackson, he says, naming his 6-year-old son. He's in the ER. They don't know what's wrong. He collapsed at school. They're running tests. Linda is hysterical. I have to go, I say immediately. Go to your son. But Mom, Michael, go. That's your baby. Go. He looks torn, destroyed. Sarah stands up. I'll go with you. You shouldn't be alone. She looks at me. Mom, both of you go. Daniel will stay with me. Go be with Jackson. Family takes care of family. That's what I taught you, isn't it? They leave, and it's just Daniel and me. He holds my hand, and we wait. We wait for news about Jackson. We wait for whatever comes next. 3 hours later, Michael calls. He's crying, but this time it's different. It's bacterial meningitis. They caught it early. He's going to be okay. He's going to be okay, Mom. The relief is overwhelming. But then Michael says something that makes my heart stop. The doctor was asking about family history, asking if there were any immune system issues we should know about. And I realized I don't know, Mom. I don't know your medical history. I don't know your parents' history. I don't know anything because I never asked. I've been so absent that I don't even know basic things that could affect my children's health. He pauses, and I can hear the weight of realization crushing him. I almost lost my son because I've been too busy to know my own mother. What kind of man am I? What kind of son? A good one who made mistakes, I tell him. That's what kind. Michael, we all make mistakes. What matters is what we do next. What happens next is something I never could have imagined. Michael and Sarah come back to the hospital, but this time Linda comes with them. She brings Jackson, still weak but recovering. They all squeeze into my small room. Then Daniel's fiancé arrives, then Sarah's husband and daughter. My hospital room becomes filled with family, with noise and life and love. Jackson, feeling better, climbs carefully onto my bed. He's never met me before, not really. He's seen me in video calls maybe twice, but he curls up against me like he's known me forever. Grandma, he says, Daddy says you're very sick. I am, sweetheart. Are you going to die? The room goes quiet. Everyone is looking at me, waiting to see how I'll answer this little boy. Yes, I tell him honestly. Soon, probably. That's sad, he says simply. Then, Daddy says you were the strongest person he ever knew, that you raised him and Aunt Sarah and Uncle Daniel all by yourself and never gave up even when things were really, really hard. I look at Michael, who's crying silently. He said that. Jackson nods seriously. He said he was sorry he forgot how strong you were. He said he's going to do better. He promised me. Out of the mouths of babes. That night, my family doesn't leave. The nurses bring in extra chairs. Linda goes to get blankets and pillows. They camp out, all of them, refusing to go. When visiting hours end, they simply don't leave, and the nurses, bless them, look the other way. We talk through the night. I tell them stories they've never heard, about their grandparents, about my childhood, about the early days with each of them. Michael talks about law school. Sarah shares stories about starting her business. Daniel opens up about his struggles. The grandchildren listen. Wide-eyed, learning about a grandmother they barely knew existed. And, somewhere in those early morning hours, as the sky starts to lighten outside my window, Sarah says something that breaks me open completely. Mom, I spent my whole life trying to be successful enough to deserve you. But I had it backwards. I should have spent my life trying to be present enough to deserve you. Success doesn't mean anything if the people who love you aren't there to share it with. Michael nods. I've been so focused on providing for my family that I forgot the most important thing I could provide was myself. Just me. Present. Available. There like you always were. Even when you were working 3 jobs, you were still there in every way that mattered. Daniel, still curled up beside me on the bed like he's 6 years old again, whispers, I thought I had to be impressive to make you proud. But you were already proud, weren't you? You always were. Always, I tell him. From the moment each of you were born, I was proud. Nothing you could accomplish or fail at would ever change that. We cry together. We laugh together. We remember together. And slowly, something miraculous happens. The distance that grew between us over the years, the silence, the absence, it starts to dissolve. Not completely. You can't heal years of disconnection in one night, but it's a beginning. In the morning, my doctor comes in and stops short, surprised to find my room overflowing with people. He needs to examine me, so everyone steps out except Michael, who refuses to leave my side. The doctor is gentle but honest. My organs are shutting down. It's a matter of days now, hours, maybe. When everyone comes back in, they know. They can see it in my face, in Michael's tears. This is it. This is goodbye. But here's the thing about goodbyes. They can be terrible, or they can be gifts. And my children, my beautiful, flawed, human children, they give me the gift of a good goodbye. They spend those final hours telling me what I meant to them. Michael talks about how he learned strength from watching me work 3 jobs. Sarah speaks about how I taught her that women don't need men to build a life. Daniel shares how I showed him that failure isn't falling down, it's refusing to get back up. They apologize, over and over, for not being there sooner, for letting work and distance and their own fears keep them away. They promise to do better, to be better, not just for me but for each other. They promise to stay close, to show up, to remember what really matters. Michael swears he's going to reduce his hours and spend more time with his kids. Sarah promises to see a therapist regularly and work through her guilt and fear. Daniel vows to call his siblings weekly, to lean on them instead of isolating when things get hard. And they promise, all 3 of them, holding my hands, with their own families surrounding us, that they'll take care of each other. That they'll remember this lesson. Presence is the only present that truly matters. Jackson, my grandson who barely knows me, asks if he can tell me a story. He makes up a tale about a superhero grandmother who saves the world by loving people very, very much. Even in my fading state, I smile. He gets it. This child who almost got sick, who brought his father running, who reminded my son what really matters. He gets it. That's you, Grandma, he says seriously. You're the superhero. The machines start beeping more urgently. The nurses come in, their faces soft with sympathy. My children gather closer. And in that moment, surrounded by the family I sacrificed everything for, I realize something. I'm not dying with nothing. I'm dying with everything. Every single thing that matters. My children are here. My grandchildren are here. The love I poured out for decades. The love I thought was wasted. The love that seemed to disappear into an uncaring void. It's all here, reflected back at me in the faces of my family. I was strong enough to raise 3 kids alone, and in the end, 3 kids were strong enough to show up when it mattered most. It took almost losing me for them to realize they couldn't afford to lose me. It took a crisis, Jackson's illness, my own impending death, to wake them up. But they woke up. That's what matters. They're here now, and they've learned what I always knew. Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about presence. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. As my eyes grow heavy and the room starts to fade, I hear them, all of them, talking and crying and laughing through tears, telling stories, making promises, being family. Finally being the family I always dreamed we could be. My last thought isn't about the years of loneliness or the months of abandonment. It's about this moment. This perfect, precious moment of reconciliation. I raised them to be strong. And they are. Strong enough to admit they were wrong. Strong enough to change. Strong enough to show up. Strong enough to love. That's all I ever wanted. And in the end, I got it. Not in the way I hoped. Not in the time I needed. but I got it. My children learned the lesson I spent my whole life trying to teach them. Love isn't about grand gestures or perfect attendance. It's about being there, being present, being willing to sit in the hard moments and not run away. They're not running anymore. As I take my last breath, surrounded by the sound of my family, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Complete, whole, loved. I was strong enough to raise 3 kids alone. And in the end, 3 kids were strong enough to let me go knowing I was loved. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.
If you're listening to this story, whether you're the parent who feels forgotten or the child who's been too busy to call, hear this. Tomorrow isn't promised. The distance you allow today might become the gap you can never cross. The calls you don't return, the visits you postpone, the "I'll do it later" that becomes never. These are the regrets that will haunt you. But it's not too late. It's never too late until it is. Pick up the phone, book the flight, show up, be present. Not perfect, present. That's all anyone really wants. That's all anyone really needs. Love isn't about what you provide or what you achieve. It's about being there, in the room, holding hands, sharing moments. The simple, ordinary, precious act of being together. Don't wait for a crisis to remember what matters. Don't let pride or shame or fear or busyness steal the time you have left, because you don't know how much time that is. None of us do. And if you're the one who's been abandoned, who's been forgotten, who's waiting for children or family members who never call, your worth isn't determined by their presence or absence. You are valuable simply because you exist, because you loved, because you gave. That can never be taken from you. Your story isn't over until you say it is. There's still time to find meaning, to find purpose, to find people who will show up for you. Sometimes family isn't the one we're born into. It's the one we choose, the one we build from friendships and communities and connections that honor who we are. But also know this, sometimes people wake up. Sometimes the lesson comes late, but it comes. Hold on for that possibility, but don't hold your breath for it. Live your life. Find your joy. Create your meaning. And if reconciliation comes, let it be the beautiful bonus it is, not the condition for your happiness. We all deserve to be seen, to be valued, to be remembered. Whether we get that from family or find it elsewhere, we all deserve it. Every life still has purpose. Every single one. Even yours. Especially yours. You are not alone. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to hear more stories that remind us every life still has purpose. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's the wake-up call they've been waiting for. Leave a comment telling us your story, your experience, your thoughts. We read every single one, and your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Hit the like button if you believe these stories matter, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Because every week, we share another journey, another lesson, another reminder that you are not alone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's never too late to show up for the people who matter. Until next time.